Newsfirst, Newsline.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Newsline. As you all know, Sri Lanka is going through multiple crises at the same moment, and one of the most pressing issues that Sri Lanka is currently facing is the environmental pollution that has been caused by the fire that erupted on board the Express Pearl vessel, currently in the outer circle of the Colombo port. How Sri Lanka responds to this situation will determine the impact that this incident will have on the environment in Sri Lanka, and also how much compensation will Sri Lanka receive to reverse or to at least limit the massive environmental destruction that has been caused already by the fire that erupted on board the Express Pearl. And without these massive funds, who will be held responsible for the damage that has been caused? Who will, at the end of the day, pay for the damage that has been caused by this incident? To discuss these matters and more, we've got with us today the chairman of the Centre for Environmental Justice, attorney at law, Ramindranath Dabre. A very good evening, sir, and welcome to the show.
Very good evening.
Sir, the incident is still ongoing. The fire that erupted on board the Express Pearl vessel, it was doused at one point and it reignited again. Containers fell into the sea. Plastic pellets are now washing ashore across the western coast of Sri Lanka, are expected to go as far as India within the coming months. However, let's talk a little bit about Sri Lanka's response. And one of the major talking points in Sri Lanka's response is the ability to claim compensation for this massive environmental damage that has taken place. What is the current position on this? Do you think Sri Lankan authorities are reacting properly in claiming damages?
Now, according to my view, Sri Lankan authorities are not acting properly in claiming damages. So, in relation to the required steps in claiming damages, as far as the information that I have received so far, actually this incident took place in territorial waters of the country and the port limits of the country, because we know up to 12 nautical miles it is the port limits. This took place somewhere around 9.5 nautical miles. Therefore, this is also in the port limits, right? Then I must actually, as far as the information received, the fire has been doused to a considerable extent, and the salvage mission has boarded onto the ship. Now, before the salvage mission is boarded onto the ship, at least our government authorities should have signed or enter into a contract with the salvage mission. What sort of
Mr. Dabre, the intention of this salvage mission is to, well, as the word goes, salvage what is left of the ship.
Now, actually, salvage mission is to minimize the damage, or actually when a burning ship is concerned, salvage, the main idea of the salvage mission is to douse the fire.
Right.
Right, and douse the fire. And now in this particular incident, we know that even the captain and the crew, all of them have left the ship. Now ship is in nobody's control, right? The nobody's property.
Right.
Therefore, when the salvage mission is on board, they can demand certain the sums actually assessed by them as their cost of salvage mission. So, to avoid that situation, before salvage mission is permitted to commence their salvage activities, there should be a proper agreement with the salvage mission to share the compensation between the government of Sri Lanka and the salvage mission. Otherwise, if the salvage mission is permitted to tug away the ship out of our territorial limits, then we are on the mercy of the salvage mission, because now, for example, if the total damage estimated is let's assume 500 million US dollars. Then if the salvage mission claims that their cost is 400 million, then we have to agree on that.
Right.
So even the last incident, the Blue Diamond issue,
that was actually my next question, Mr. Dabare. This is not the first time that Sri Lanka has actually faced an incident like this. Very recently, during the past year, the end of last year, we had MT New Diamond, and there are still ambiguities as to where the compensation went. Was the exact amount that was promised paid by it? There were allegations raised by a number of factions in Sri Lanka that only a portion or only half of that sum had really been paid to the Sri Lankan government, and the rest of the money is missing. Nobody knows where it went. Is this
no, actually,
the workings of a similar situation?
There had been a massive damage, but ultimately what we have received as a result of all the processes started and all the legal actions taken so far, we have received only a pittance, right? That is why I say that we should have learned a lesson at least from that incident, and should have acted in a wise manner or move in a more prudent manner in relation to obtaining compensation and handling the compensation. Now if at least at this stage, if the government authorities are not taking steps to detain the ship, I know that Marine Pollution Prevention Authority, they are authorized to detain ship. Even the Director General of Merchant Shipping, they are authorized to detain ship. Even this evening there had been a suit, actually lawsuit instituted in the magistrate courts by the Attorney General.
Right.
But
this is filing criminal charges against the captain of the ship.
And captain and only against few officials.
Right.
Even in that case, they have not prayed for, or they have not sought court intervention to detain the ship.
Right.
Even as far as I know, there had been a top level and high level with the government officials and the politicians. There had been a meeting in this evening, and there had been lot of demands from various sectors and various interested parties to allow the salvage mission to tug away the ship. That will worsen the next steps, because now the restoration of the environmental damage and other damages caused on the fisheries and the fisheries harbors, and our damages caused on our fishermen, and future damages we have to cover up with the damage that we are expected to obtain.
Mr. Dabare, was this a similar situation that occurred even when the MT New Diamond caught fire? Was it again tugged away into the international waters, and then we really lost our bargaining power? Is that what happened then as well?
No, actually it took place
in international
waters, and the law applicable to ME Diamond is quite different, and even that is not a hazardous cargo. Actually the leakage and was not hazardous cargo. It was oil leakage, but it is there had been comparing the damage caused by the express pearl. We can say that it is less, the damage caused by the ME Diamond is comparatively less. But for this scenario, if we can't obtain the compensation as a country who is always begging for dollars from various other countries, I don't think that we will be able to raise.
This will put a dent in our already struggling economy.
Yes, because not only on economy, our health sector, even our now if we talk on the environmental damage only, right? The immediate surrounding of the vessel is totally damages, because the heat is transmitted to the surrounding waters, and the coral reef and other planktons and various other underwater ecosystems, they are totally devastated and damages. And even the marine species who cannot move fast, right? Normally we know that when there is a temperature increase, the marine species who can swim fast, they somehow or they escape, right? By after sensing these temperature changes. But there are some species like turtles, tortoise, and there are some species they can't move fast. Not only them, and they are.
And we saw the corpse of these marine life washing up on our shores as well. There were various images that were shared on social media and other platforms of these marine life that was destroyed by this incident. Mr. Dabri, we've got a question from one of our viewers, and this is regarding the salvage mission that you spoke of. The question goes like this: does the salvage mission claim compensation for environmental damage? That really is the question. Does the
salvage mission is claiming the cost of their salvage mission. So if the cost of their salvage mission is more than 50% or comes to about 70% to 80%
of the entire compensation,
package, what is left to us? That is my issue. Because
so the common practice is the salvage mission discloses the amount that they seek to obtain from for the salvage mission, the cost of their salvage mission. Do they disclose it before the mission takes place?
No, they do not disclose. That is the problem.
Right. So then how wrong has the authority, how is it that the authorities have approached this issue wrong? What should have they done?
They should have entered into an agreement, and even if they have failed to enter into an agreement, they should detain the ship and then negotiate the compensation, the cost of the salvage mission. And actually the salvage mission is arranged by the ship owners. Therefore, there can be a collusion between the ship owner and the salvage mission.
Right.
Sometimes what is obtained by the salvage mission again can be gone to the ship owner again, because
the company itself.
Company itself, because it is not selected by our government.
Right.
So they can collude.
So Mr. Dabra, your basic point here is the fact that Sri Lanka not detaining this ship and allowing it to be tugged away into international waters, like you said, there was a high-level meeting today, and discussions were held regarding this matter as well, on tugging this ship away into international waters. So Sri Lanka not having possession of the ship really puts a dent in Sri Lanka's bargaining power on getting the compensation that we deserve for the environmental damage that this incident has caused.
Yes, definitely, because according to the information that we have received, although there had been a fire on the deck or on the ship, still more than 70% worth of carriages, right, are there in the ship, right?
So the value of the ship is enormous.
Yes, but there are some news items, and some people say that now that
ship is
totally destroyed. But according to the information we received, that is not the case.
Right. So the ship is of substantial value, and it is in the best interest of Sri Lankans in obtaining compensation that we so rightly deserve to detain this ship, and that has not been done.
Yeah, because now the experts have confirmed that this will not damage, or this will not blast, and there will be no oil leak. When there is such an assurance, we should not release the ship, because then if we are really interested in releasing the ship, we should have done at the earlier stage.
So that we could have reduced the environmental damage caused by the spillover of these containers. However, there were reports that came in of water seeping into the ship, and the divers have been dispatched to look into this matter. So in that front, giving the benefit of the doubt to the government, don't you think it's still, if there is such a leak of the water and the risk of the ship maybe even sinking, wouldn't it still be in the best interest to tug it away?
Then if it is to be tugged away, then it should be under the control of our authorities, maritime authorities, because there should be at least a court order obtained for that, because even tugging is not the problem, but the total control has to be still with the Sri Lankan authorities.
Mr. Dabare, we need to cross over to a short commercial break, but before we go, right after the commercial break, we will be getting over the phone Mr. Rohan Abewikrama. He is also in the industry of shipping and logistics. He will be clarifying to us details of a similar incident of this nature that occurred in the year 1993. He incidentally was the local agent in that matter and how he dealt with the matter successfully. So stay tuned. You're watching Newsline Live. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Welcome back. You're watching Newsline Live. As we promised before the break, we are now joined by Mr. Rohan Abewikrama, the former International Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. A very good evening, Mr. Abewikrama. Thank you for joining us on our show over the phone.
Good evening.
Mr. Abewikrama, now you were the local agent in managing a similar incident back in 1993. When that ship was on fire, you coordinated with the merchant shipping, the Director General of the Merchant Shipping, and also you got down tugs from Singapore to manage this. Now, people are wondering who is responsible for this massive environmental damage that has been caused here in Sri Lanka. The local agent is also a stakeholder in this entire matter. What is the responsibility of the local agent in managing this such a massive disaster? And what happened really in 1993?
In 1993, we handled a vessel called Ever Group, which actually loaded in Sri Lanka and sailed out heading west. And it was about 160 miles west of Colombo when the fire started. So we asked the vessel to come back to Colombo, and during this time she came to Colombo. By the time she came to Colombo, we had everything lined up to handle the vessel in Colombo. We had the salvos, the tugboats, chemicals and all that. So immediately, the moment the vessel arrived, we started work and got the vessel attended to without any delay at all. And as a result, the fire we managed to contain, and then we berthed the vessel after the fire was put out, and then we discharged all the burnt containers to Colombo. After that, we were able to sail the vessel out without any hindrance at all.
Mr. Abewikrama, now according to what you said, you quite rightly managed the situation back in the day as the local agent of this shipping company. But in this case, we do not hear too much about Sri Lanka's local agent and their role in managing or containing this situation. Generally, is it not the practice of the captain of this ship to first inform the local agent of any anomalies on the ship, in this case a leak? Where really is the local agent in Sri Lanka when it comes to this disaster? Have they not fulfilled their duties properly? Have they?
Well, I am not privy to that information, whether the ship contacted the local agent first or the principal's office first. But in my view, the initial few days, due to the lack of professional and competent managers for the casualty, may have resulted in the vessel, the fire not being contained immediately.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rohan Abivikrama, for joining us on our show and clarifying those matters over the phone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, and moving on, Mr. Dabare, we were discussing about the environmental damage that has been caused, the compensation, and there is a question that came in questioning you on how can the salvage company that is hired by the shipping company claim a portion of the compensation that is due to Sri Lanka for the environmental damage that this ship has caused?
No, actually, they can't claim a portion from the environmental damage, but the total damage is assessed, and total damage is directed or demanded by the shipping company if the shipping company is found guilty. I also must say that also. And as a result of this incident, there had been multiple damages caused as a result of this incident. Even I said that earlier marine ecological systems or marine ecology is totally severely affected, and even the marine species as well as marine vegetation. There are a lot of marine food chains.
Right.
Even affects our food cycle as human beings.
Right.
If one portion or one segment of the marine food chain is affected, the total food chain will collapse. That's the issue. Now, as a result of these plastic beads and pellets, sometimes they, sometimes many of them float and will be swallowed by fish.
Already we are seeing the results of it washing up on our shores.
Their gills are blocked. And their respiration systems are severely affected. And in the future, there will be a decay of these plastic particles
into microplastics.
Maybe on the coral reef, maybe on the bed of the sea.
Right.
And the future damages even we can't predict now, because they are while this decomposition is taking place, there will be a lot of chemical reactions taking place.
So basically, to put it in simple terms, Mr. Dabare, the environmental damage that this incident has already caused and will continue to cause in the future is simply unimaginable.
And nobody is talking about the atmospheric pollution that took place. Even
the risk of acid rains now that looms over Sri Lanka.
And large number of toxic waste is collected to our atmosphere.
Because this ship was carrying dangerous chemicals, dangerous cargo as they call it in the shipping industry.
And we will sometimes, there is a possibility of we facing a lot of illnesses related to our respiration.
And given that there is a COVID pandemic ongoing in the country,
and the aesthetic value of our shores are already deteriorated. I don't know the tourist industry, when tourist industry will go into rise again, because now it is affected with the corona now.
It was initially affected by the April 21st bombing, then the COVID-19 pandemic came, now we are
then we have to
assess
the impact on our economy by the effect on the as a result of effect on our tourist industry, and our fishing industry is totally affected, and the fishermen they do not have their daily.
But they have got a 5,000 rupee allowance.
No, that is sometimes their daily income. Sometimes even one fish caught by a fisherman maybe may exceed 5,000 rupees.
Mr. Dabare, we've got one question from one of our viewers, and I don't think I'd be wrong if I call it the million-dollar question. The question goes like this: even if we get compensation, how would we know that all the money will be dedicated for environmental purposes only and not be diverted to other projects like road developments, and particularly to line ministers' pockets?
We as environmentalists now have decided not to allow this to happen again, and we have planned public interest litigation and obtain a court order just to utilize all this compensation received in respect of environmental damage, utilize only for the environmental damage and prevent any such environmental damage in the future.
So I believe that you are already drafting a petition to be
Yes.
filed at the Supreme Court. Do you plan on praying for the Supreme Court to set up a separate trust fund? Is that the kind of procedure that you are proposing?
Yes, maybe trust fund or a separate entity, or maybe it will be handled by a separate maybe Ministry of Environment or separate, but it has to be accountable to the nation what they have done for the betterment of the environment and for the restoration of the environment. And we hope to obtain court orders, otherwise we won't allow the politicians to handle this money if we receive the compensation according to their whims and fancies.
Mr. Rabindranath Dabare, you are at the forefront of battling for the environment in Sri Lanka. You were involved in the Vilpattu case that won a successful order demanding the minister at the time to replant this area. However, when the court order came, the damage that has already been done to the environment had been done. And like Shakespeare quite eloquently put it, what's done cannot be undone. Do you believe that this money, the compensation, whatever compensation that we will receive, will be utilized for environmental purposes alone?
I don't expect to do so, but we are pressing on that, and that's why we are adopting various strategies like court orders.
Just to make sure that this money goes for the environment, and of course it is for the environment, for the future generations of Sri Lanka.
But total 100% restoration cannot be done. Any environmental ecosystem, once it is damaged, we cannot expect 100%
restoration. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Dabare, for joining us on our show and clarifying these matters, and also for your drive in public interest litigation to secure this money solely for the purpose of restoring the environment in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for the questions that you've sent in and for tuning in to Newsline Live. We will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, take care and God bless.